Hello everyone and welcome to this Pearson English webinar. Thank you for joining us today. You can join the conversation online with the hashtag #ReadyForWebinars. Please remember this session is recorded and the recording will be made available via our YouTube channel after the event. Also, every participant will receive a certificate of attendance. Please submit any questions you have in the chat box and we will answer these at the end of the session. Without further delay, I'm excited to hand over to Donatella, who's going to tell us about reading for pleasures to enhance well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you everyone for coming this afternoon. It's such a wonderful way to spend an afternoon with teachers from all over the world. I'm just looking at where you're coming from. We've got Spain, we've got Macedonia, we've got Latvia, we've got Russia, we've got Italy, we've got Poland, Slovakia, 11 o'clock, Maryland, America. Isn't that wonderful? And Hong Kong, nice to see you. Milenka, lovely to see you. Ecuador, Ukraine, Slovenia, Panama, Piemonte, Luisa, Guatemala, Frosinone, Carla, lovely to see you. Germany, Texas. I mean, this is amazing. It's I think this is one of the wonderful things about the Pearson webinars, the teachers from all over the world. That is quite amazing. And it's lovely that you're all here together to be able to talk to each other as well in the chat. Now, today's webinar, so we're going to be looking at why reading is important for students' well-being. We're going to be looking at what we can do to help our students read more, so with respect to our secondary students as well, and create a reading culture, and also some practical and inclusive ideas and activities and examples to engage students with graded readers. So why is reading important? Well, you can look up the National Literary Trust, okay, and they say that children who engage with reading are 3 times more likely to have high levels of mental well-being than those who do not. So not only is it important for your language skills, but it's actually really important for your well-being. So if we've got students that are feeling a bit down, not very happy, we can encourage them to read as well. So and the Reading Agency, this is another good organisation that I suggest you follow, you look them up. They say that reading for pleasure can result in an increased empathy, improved relationships with others, reductions in the symptoms of depression and dementia, and improved well-being. So the research says that reading is important for our well-being. So this is, if you like, a new angle that is being looked at today. And sort of reading and well-being isn't new. So if you look up bibliotherapy, you can see that there is quite a long history, and storytelling and creative writing and reading have been long recognised for their therapeutic potential. So for example, in ancient Greece with the Grecian libraries, and I know that some people are here from Greece today, the use of literature as a healing method was important then. In more recent times, in the World Wars I and II, bibliotherapy was used to help returning soldiers deal with their physical and emotional concerns. So basically, you could actually ask some of your older students to do some research as well about bibliotherapy and find out more about it. There are hundreds and thousands of you today, so and it's great that you're all continents. So escape in a book. Reading can help our students escape into new worlds and actually switch off from the day and cope with stress and worry. And again, choosing a book with a sort of happy message or a laugh out loud book can also, help you to improve your mood. So the digital age is effectively reshaping the reading circuits in our brains, but there is hope. Sustained close reading is vital to redeveloping attention and maintaining critical thinking and empathy and a myriad of other skills in danger of extinction. Now, this is from Marianne Wolf in a book called Reader Come Home. And if you haven't already, I do suggest you read it. It's about the reading brain in a digital world, and it's fascinating. It shows a lot of the research behind what's happening now with our brains when we read, and especially, you know, visual learning, etc. So really, really important. It's called Reader Come Home, The Reading Brain in a Digital World. They've asked for the name of that book, so it's on the slide there at the bottom. Reader Come Home. Okay. So, and not only is it good for our well-being and important for the new skills we need for reading different types of literature and literacy and newspaper articles, it's also very good. Extensive reading, as Stephen Krashen says, feeds into improvement in all areas of language competence. So, again, there are lots of readings. One other thing that's important to think about is how many hours does it actually take to get from one level of the CEFR to another? Now, people always ask me that, and I'm sure parents always say that to you as teachers. So there's a lot of research now that you can have a look at in the Global Scale of English. So this is the Pearson Global Scale of English. And if you look up the Global Scale of English website, there's a fascinating book that you can download, and it's an ebook as well, but it's a research paper on how long does it take to learn a language. And basically the evidence shows that reading can actually help build up language skills in those extra hours that you need to get from one level of the framework to another. So reading is also important for that as well, and I do suggest you look into that research. So teachers usually ask, how can we help students develop literacy and reading skills so that they actually enjoy books and become lifelong readers? And that's really important. Yeah, reading is crucial, absolutely. So I'd like you in the chat, if you can just write down, what was your favourite story when you were a child? How was it presented? Was it in a book? Did someone read it to you? Was it in a film? Who told you the story? So Blanca says it's Cinderella. What else have we got? The Hobbit, Pinocchio, Little Red Hen. Lovely. Lots of classic sort of stories here as well. The Wizard of Oz, that was mine as well. Oh, that's lovely. Susanna says her her little daughter's watching as well. And she said a magic book. Yeah, fantastic. Great. Say hello to her. Okay, so we've got lots and lots of different responses here, folk tales. And this is an important question to ask your students as well, so that you basically find out from them what they're interested in. And you'll find it's really interesting, you know, people give you all sorts of answers. So reading absolutely needs to be an everyday part of life and a keystone habit. So a habit that is repeated, that's part of our lives, and that brings us good consequences. And research shows that the benefits of reading are more likely to be felt when reading takes place through free choice. So basically, it's the students choosing what they read, and that's really important. And it's also important that it is for pleasure as well. So reading is not something that children do in school, but it needs to be part of all of our lives. So we need to encourage reading at home, reading in the summer, you know, reading all the time. And this is the question, the big question for everybody and for teachers. So what can we do to get our students reading? This is something that parents ask. Now, graded readers, so they can actually help us. So my question to you now is, what are graded readers? So you can write it in the chat. Let's see what people say. What are graded readers? Oh, hi, Maria Rijo. Lovely to see you. Yeah, simplified text, Carla. Adapted, classic stories rewritten in a simplified text. Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic. So this is from the British Council. And graded readers are reading books that contain language adjusted to the level of the learner rather than authentic language. And graded readers can help learners build their confidence in reading, and they can make a useful addition to the exposure of reading texts and authentic texts at very low levels. So absolutely very important. Now, as we said before, choice is crucial, and we can empower our students, which helps their well-being as well, and give them the choice. So make sure that we give them access to books at the right level, and then they choose what they read. Now, we can there are different ways of finding out what the books are at the right level. So on the back of the book, there's a blurb. We call it the blurb. If you can all repeat that word, blurb. Good. We can hear you speaking at home. So Charlie's got secret cameras. So make sure you all repeat. And you can see if it's the right level. They can see if they can read it. They should be able to read the book without needing to use a dictionary for every word. There is a glossary at the back, and they can read some of the book to see if it's the right level. But also, it's important to find out what genre they like reading. We usually say that they should be able to understand about sort of 80% of it without looking things up in a dictionary. Otherwise, it's a translation, or at least, some people say with younger children, more than 5 words on a page, and it's too difficult to go back to an easier level. Yeah, a reading checklist, absolutely. And on the Pearson website, there are checklists that you can find as well on the readers.com. So the first thing that we need to find out is what our students like reading. So we can tell them about genre, because not a lot of students know about genre and different types of books as well. So what is available? So can you write down what genre you can think of? Sci-fi, fairy tale. So what's your favorite? Absolutely. Adventure story. Yeah. Oh, fantasy. Okay. Sci-fi. We've got loads there. And basically, these are some that we've put here together for you today. There are lots and lots, and there are even more. There's like wellbeing now. There are sort of, loads and loads and loads of different types of books. And this is really important. You can also do a Google survey then with your students. So you can go to Google Forms, and this is the site at the bottom for Google Forms. And you can create a survey. You could just ask them, what are your favorite genres? So, for example, fantasy, classics, history. By doing that, you can get a quick picture of what your class are saying. And that's really important if you're choosing books for them to read as well. And you can ask the students to actually do the survey. It could be an activity for class. So where and when can we read? So now, as Mason Cooley, the American aphorist, said, reading gives us some place to go when we have to stay where we are. So, especially at times like this, if in your country you may be in lockdown, or in the part of the country you may be in lockdown, your students may not be able to go out, and you may not be able to go out, and they can go into another world. You can take your students on a journey around the world through reading. The other thing that's really important for students and for teachers is to make time to read at home, but also, everywhere. So basically, it's that whole thing about time. And there's a fantastic campaign by the Book Trust. So that's the Book Trust. You can look them up. And they've got a lovely campaign about time to read where you can get, ideas on that. Yeah, Patty says she'd like to post that in her classroom. Absolutely. So you can tell your students that. So drop everything and read. This is another activity that works really well with students. It was invented by Beverly Cleary. And in fact, on the 12th of April, it's Drop Everything and Read Day. But the idea is that in class or at home, you just get everybody to just drop everything and start reading. So if your students have got a book that they take to school with them, or you get them to read, you all sit, and you as well, sit and read it silently. Hi, Anna Maria. Hi, Julia. Good. Okay, and reading at bedtime. So regular nighttime bedtime routine is important, and it helps the brain unwind and switch off for the day. And that's really, really important as well. So, the idea of reading before they go to bed. So who can help our students read? Well, the important thing is to maintain their motivation, as we said before, to empower them and let them choose. And also there's some research from the school run that children who read with someone at home, actually, it says that it helps them to feel calmer and happier. So if your students are older, if they're teenagers and they've got brothers and sisters, they can read to them in English, and that helps them. I once knew a teacher who taught the police in Italy, and she got her Italian policeman to read graded readers in English to their children at home. So it was just a way of them practicing their language. So lots of ideas there. Yes, and Nagma says the reading habit is to be inculcated and a schedule. Absolutely. So it becomes part of a routine. That's really important. So as Christopher Edge says, books can transform children's lives. They can open windows into new worlds and widen their horizons, or just make them laugh. And reading for pleasure can give you the key to unlock your dreams. So that's good for everybody. And the last piece of research here is that reading can actually help to reduce your stress levels. Now, this is a research paper by the University of Sussex, and they have said that basically it's a really good way to relax. 6 minutes of reading a day can be enough to reduce your stress levels. And it's based around the brain and the mind. And if you saw Amy's webinar earlier, so basically it's about the way the human mind has to concentrate on reading, and the distraction eases the tensions in the muscles and the heart. So it actually works better than listening to music, sitting down with a cup of tea, and calming your nerves in those ways. So absolutely to be recommended. Now, reading, as we saw before, students can connect with some of the characters in the reading, and so it can actually help them experience different emotions and things from different perspectives. So that's important as well. So this is the big question. How can we introduce our students to reading? So one of the things, as someone said before as well, is we need to try and make time in our lessons for reading, and also fluency training, so that automaticity that you get when you read and you become a good reader. And you can find the more about extensive reading from the Extensive Reading Foundation website. They've got a fantastic guide which is free and you can download it, and it gives you lots of ideas as well. But fluency training should actually include what we call intensive reading and extensive reading. So both. Intensive reading is sort of more, timed. It's more teacher choosing, skimming and scanning through the text. And then extensive reading, so opportunities for large quantities of reading. Oh, thank you, Nihal. You're very smarty delivering your talk. That's nice. Thank you. Okay, and reading clubs, Nashia. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good idea. So what can we do? We need to, because again, it's not just about reading one book a year, it's about getting them to read lots of books. So what can we do? So the idea is, and this is an idea from Rachel Watson, who I say hello to, who's here today, and she's the editor of all the Pearson readers, does a fantastic job. And one idea is to get students to absolutely start to sort of read series. So for example, if your students like Doctor Who, there are Doctor Who graded readers that they can read. Or if they like the Marvel readers, so Captain America and the Avengers, they can read those readers there. So they can read one and then read more. They might like an author. So for example, if they like Charles Dickens, they might start to read The Christmas Carol or Oliver Twist, and then they can read other books by that same author. And we've got reading competitions, and also the same genre. So for example, they might like love stories, and we've got lots of love stories, or cinematic readers based around films. Also horror stories. So if you know that they like thrillers, and horror stories are good as well because they're good for well-being, because you can immerse yourself in the story. Also, short stories. So if you get your students to read short stories, they'll probably finish the story, and there's a huge satisfaction of getting to the end of a book, especially if you're learning a language and finishing the story. Hey, they can say, I've finished the book. And then they can read another short story and then another series of short stories. So this is a way of them also trying new genre so they can experiment, and a way to bring back the habit of daily readers. And I'd like to thank Saskia here from our Readers Marketing, who's putting in the links, and you can see the links in the chat. Now, Julia asks, what age do you think these graded readers are for? We've got Scuola Primaria. In fact, there was a primary webinar we did this morning for graded readers. We've got lower secondary, upper secondary, adults, readers for everyone. So you can go and have a look. And we've got lots of teachers' notes as well and activities. So you don't need to think of the ideas. You can obviously think of your own, but you just have lots of ideas there as well that you can get from the website. Okay, so let's begin with some activities that we can do before the students read. So readers can be a fantastic tool. Okay, so here, for example, you've got they can describe the cover. So if you're using the eLibraries, for example, you can share the screen. If you're doing a video lesson, like today, you're the students, I'm the teacher, I could share my screen and show the cover, and or they've got the book at home, they can look at it themselves, and they can talk about it, or in class, what's the book about? And write down the vocabulary, what period of history, what makes you think that. Okay, so what period of history? Let's just answer that question. Can you say what period of history do you think this is? When was this story set? Was it is it yeah, okay, 1800s. And you can ask them, so how do you know? And then you can ask the students to get their mobile phone and make an audio recording of their description of the cover, and they can send it to each other. Then all of the books have audio. You can play a bit of the audio of the beginning of the book, and then ask them to read, to guess what is going to happen. Okay, yeah. So what are the topics? Let's look at this book here. What do you think the topics are in this book? Could you write in the chat any ideas? Movies, science, absolutely. Yeah. End of the world, superheroes, great. Yeah, so we've got things like honesty, we've got power, sibling rivalry, selflessness, anger, good things and bad things about power. And obviously, in the teacher's notes, you can find lots of ideas on how to develop the topics. So the other thing you can do is you can download this from a website, the Amazing Readers website. There's the link there. And this is a reading KWL chart. So, but even if you don't download it, you can just take note, get the students to write 3 columns. So before they start the story, what do you know about the book? What do you want to know about the book? And then when they've finished, they can make some notes about what they've learnt. And then they can share these as a Google Documents if you're teaching online, or they can take a photo and send it to you. They could write it on a Padlet. So there are lots of ways of using this, or just simply fill it in as a photocopy. So there are different ways of doing it. And again, it's just getting them to activate their knowledge. Okay. And graded readers and discussions. So your students can be looking at a book, and here we've got the Secret Garden. This is a lovely story, and it's also, you've got a film. There's the film they can watch after. You can ask them to just take out one of the themes of the book. So they could take out the word secret and the word garden. Get them to do a mind map. What can you find in a garden? Ask your students if they've got a garden, and then is there a public garden in your town, and develop it, like that. If we're thinking about well-being as well, you can also encourage them to think about secrets, and what secrets have they got, or just sort of think about secrets, and develop that theme again. Are the stories the same as the movies, or are they different? Well, some of them, have they have been adapted, and I know that Rachel's here, so she can. Okay, so while reading activities, there you go. So reading comprehension, again, this is really, really important. And there are main areas are things like prediction, questioning, clarifying, summarizing, and activating prior knowledge. And if we can encourage our students around the reading that we're doing with the graded readers to do things like predicting and questioning, we can actually help them to understand more. So again, it's the good old WH question. So who, what, when, why, where, and how. And remember the whole idea of reading with and not reading to. So everyone's part of the experience. And get our students to think about what they like and what they don't like. You don't have to like every book. If you start reading a book and you don't like it, put it down and move on to something else. Don't force yourself. As we said before, choice is important. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, so talking about the character's emotions. So if we're thinking about well-being as well, your students could be reading, for example, Alice in Wonderland, and you can look at pick out the characters in the book and look at the emotions. So, for example, how did Alice feel when she first fell down the rabbit hole? Who helped Alice in the story, and who did she help? So, looking at a description of characters from a well-being point of view. Again, your students can make an audio recording, they could write, but an audio recording about their favourite character, or they could make a quick presentation, some PowerPoint slides, and they can share these in your lessons, so you can really introduce the people, the characters. Also making predictions from illustrations. So all of the graded readers have wonderful illustrations in them that are carefully chosen by the editors to help the comprehension, but also to attract the students. So you can use these illustrations as didactic tools. So looking at this one, so who is in the picture? What is she wearing? What is she holding? What does the label say? And what do they think is going to happen next? Okay, so again, it's prediction, yeah, and visualization as well. Alternative endings, absolutely. We've got loads of ideas there. Okay, so I'm just going to try and move the slides. That one's sticking. Okay, using the audio. So lots of teachers ask me about using the audio, and again, it's a real resource. So audio is fantastic for students with dyslexia because they can listen to the story and they can participate as well. One way of using the audio is you can write the keywords. So here, for example, we're all reading Pride and Prejudice, okay, and here it is. You can write the keywords from the first page of the story on the board, and we have wealthy, single man, wife, families, property, north, place, house, week, married, £1,000, and you can ask the students to repeat. So I'd like you all to repeat now. Wealthy, single man, wife. Okay, and we'll carry on. And then you can play the audio, and as they read and they listen, the word, and if they hear the word, they put up their hand. So I'm just going to read a couple of lines now. And if you see one of those words, just put your hands up. So it is, of course, generally accepted that a wealthy single man must be in search of a wife. Okay, so again, that's an activity just to get them into the activity. Then you can play the audio again and let them hear random sentences from the book or from the first chapter, and they go through and try and find them. Again, a way of balancing that intensive reading as well. As we said before, the audio is fundamental for students with dyslexia because they can listen. Okay, yeah, from Pride and Prejudice. Okay. Oh, we haven't got the slide, Charlie. Oh, yeah. Have we got the slide there?
That's strange. I've not seen that before. It might just be very slow loading.
Okay.
And how about now? Tell you what. Okay, let's try with the PDF version.
Have you got the PDF? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just loading that now.
Are there, so we can perhaps, I'll just look at some of the questions there. Are there graded readers with more short stories, not a single story, Anna? Yes, there are. There are lots. We've got lots of them, as Rachel said. We've got the Sherlock Holmes. Rachel's put in some other examples down. So lots of short stories as well.
Sorry, I've not seen this before. Something must be happening with the clip meeting platform, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay.
Can't load the file. That's strange. Oh, here we go. Okay. So now you should see your slides on the right. Do you remember roughly where you
Okay. Yeah, if I go there. I can see them I can see them on the right, but I can't see them in the big
thumbnail. Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm seeing as well.
I know I can't see them. We're getting new directions. Yeah. And let me see some other questions that we've got here. We've got questions. Wonder with my students in general tend to read less and less. I find it harder to persuade them. Okay. I think the idea of motivation is important, so you can, do activities. So I'll just answer some of the questions, Charlie, while you're trying to upload the slides.
Sure, thanks. Okay.
Okay. So and I think if you can later on, I've got some slides that talk about reading circles and it'll like a book club. And if you can get the students to perhaps read the same reader, find out something that the majority of the class. Okay, here we go. And if you can get them to use it as a sort of project. And another activity that I've got later on is we can talk about. I'm just gonna. Okay. We're right at the.
Yeah, these aren't loading in any way. I'm just trying to go into the back end and see if there's anything I can do, but I'm not too sure.
Okay.
That's a shame. I don't understand why that's happening.
Okay, but what I would suggest is that you do get them to, you do join get a sort of book club activity, and let me see. Oh no, they're just really. Well, 54. It said. There you go. Let's see if it says can't.
Yeah, I'm getting that as well. Can't load the file.
That's what we're seeing. But will you keep trying, and I'll just get the if we can get some more questions from the chat.
Sure.
Okay, so I would suggest something like a sort of reading club. And also one of the activities that we've got later on for the students is a reading festival. So you get them to do these projects, you can get them to do an activity, to make a PowerPoint presentation or a video about the reader, a book trailer. And basically, once they've done that, they can then, once they've done that, you can organise like a Zoom meeting or something like this, a click meeting with all the parents. So it's an opportunity to get everybody together and join the and read together. So and that's nice. Okay. It's very sad we can't use our school library because of COVID. Okay, so if you've got a school library, yeah, the only thing you can do is perhaps to just give students one reader, or they can, try and. We have got digital libraries coming out now, and very shortly you'll be you can actually buy them now, so ask your Pearson consultants about the digital libraries, the e-libraries, and all of these books, different titles for different levels, and your students can also read them. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay. Do you want to try and move them forward, Charlie? Can you do
I
that?
have done. What I'm going to do, Donatello, is load it on my computer and screen share, and you tell
Oh,
me
okay.
to go through the slides, okay?
Okay. Go on then. Okay, we're going to, sorry about this, technical issues, but we've got, Nagma's got a reading club called Readers Club. That's lovely, agreed to read. And if you've got any questions, we can answer them. So, that's,
I'm just loading the slides now. It won't be too long.
okay, and that's great. So Rachel has given you a whole list of short stories, so lots there. And in fact, there's things like the Canterville Ghost, the Locked Rooms. There are some mystery stories. You've got lots of Sherlock Holmes. That's usually very, very popular. A detective story, and you've also got some of the Doctor Who stories that people saw before, and they're usually popular as well. You've got sort of detective stories that are good. Okay, you tell me when you're ready, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm just loading up the.
Okay, Anna, you asked about the Book Trust. So the Book Trust is an organisation in the United Kingdom, and if you look at their website, they've got lots and lots of ideas and activities for. There you go. Well, let's just stay here.
Fantastic. So just let me know when you want to progress through the slides.
Okay, can you just go back a bit? Just go back 2 or 3. No, go back. Go back. Yeah, okay, that's where we were. Okay, so here we go. So using the audio, and as we said, they're really good for dyslexic students. Okay, if you can move on. Okay, the Book Trust is an organisation. It's an organisation in the United Kingdom, and you can just look up their website. So after reading activities, let's look at this. Okay, if we move forward. Okay, so you can get your students to act out part of the story. So here, for example, you can take an extract from the story. You can get the students to write a little dialogue. They can turn it into a scene. They can change the tenses. So they could create a little dialogue out of the story, and they can act it out. They could then video it. And again, it's an opportunity to present it to the parents. They can dress up in costumes. Okay, thank you, Charlie. And again, someone's just written something about writing. Reading does make you a better writer. So, for example, if they're reading the Little Women stories here, they can look at the ending, and you can decide if it's a happy ending or a sad ending. So, linking to the theme of well-being as well, looking at it from that perspective, and also write a new happy ending or a new sad ending. So you're getting them to actually not just write an ending, but a particular type of ending as well, thinking about well-being. And one of the most important things is, in terms of the importance of reading graded readers, is that they actually provide correct models of the English language. A lot of our students are reading the things on the internet now, and very often, there are things that haven't been edited. The English is perhaps not 100% correct. So graded readers do offer the opportunity of seeing a really good model of the English language. Okay. Thank you, Rothio. Okay, and the detective stories, yeah, that's fantastic. So your students will like this. They could do a research project on the themes. So, for example, the history of the Orient Express. So this is a lovely reader. It's the Doctor Who series, Mummy on the Orient Express, and it was inspired by Agatha Christie's the Orient murder on the Orient Express. So they can find out about the TARDIS, they can find out about these police boxes. So what were the police boxes in the United Kingdom? And then find out more about detective stories and different genre and different authors. So that's a good way. Okay, thank you, Charlie. And this is from a lovely teacher in Rome that provided this for me. She connected the readers to the United Nations Global Sustainable Development Goals, and her students read the Pearson reader, The Gladiator. Then they watched the film, and then they did a whole project, and they connected the reader to the goal. So the theme here was reduced inequalities, and it was the whole idea of how the gladiators lived and the slavery, and connected it to the goal. So you can do that as well, and it's a good way of starting to talk about them. If we're looking at, for example, the other thing is you could be mindful as a teacher of looking out for readers that do have themes of well-being. And this is a wonderful example from the Pearson version, the reader of Alice in Wonderland. You've got that beautiful illustration of Alice looking at the Cheshire Cat. And in the book, Alice says, then all of it vanished and there was only its smile. There are lots of cats without a smile, but a smile without a cat? Now that's very strange, Alice said. And if you do some research, I looked it up, but basically smiling is actually contagious, and it's not just celebrities. You can light up a room by smiling, and if you smile, everyone else smiles. So can you all just, let's have a smile. Okay, good. So that's good. Yeah, posters, Inge, absolutely. And Louisa said she hadn't thought about the Agenda 2030. It's an absolutely fantastic way. Choose one of the sustainable goals and then find readers that connect with it, or look at a reader and think about what themes you can get of the global sustainable goals. So fantastic way of introducing them. Graded readers and clear topics. So here, for example, Marcel and the Mona Lisa. This is about a very special detective mouse, and you can do lots more research and take your students on a journey to Paris on a virtual tour of the Mona Lisa. Again, just expanding that reading opportunity. Okay. And if we move forward, thank you. The other thing is quotations about well-being and graded readers. So you can ask your students to look at the readers and find some, or look up some quotations. So we've got Alice, for example, very mindfully, it's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. And then Jane Eyre, life appears to me too short to be spent in nursing animosity or registering wrongs. So again, in the graded readers, you can find lots of things to connect with well-being. And in fact, with quotes, not just well-being quotes, but all quotes, you can ask your students to find a quote and start your lessons with a motivational quote, for example. They can paraphrase the quote. So what does that mean? You know, so lots of ideas with this. Okay, and if we can move on, Charlie, thank you. Okay, the other thing is looking at symbolic locations. So all of the books can take you somewhere, and this is, for example, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and that the book is set within the scenario of the Mississippi River in America. And I know we've got some people here from America, so big shout out to you. And that's lovely because the students can actually take one of the themes and then develop it and find out more about the river and get more interested in it. And that's lovely. Okay, if we move on. Again, responses to reading. So once your students have read, get them to do something to advertise their love for that book. So they could make a lap book or a video or costumes or plays or posters, even a recipe, you know, anything they like. So they can take things and move forward. Okay. If we move forward, this is a project called the Reading Circles Project, and this is a very simple idea. Again, a lot of teachers are asking for collaborative projects for reading. So you get your students into groups, and each group can decide to read a particular book. So again, you could perhaps suggest some titles and they decide which one they want, and then you put the students into a group, and each student in the group has a different role. At the end they were going to present their reader. So one student, for example, could be a presentation master. This could be a student that's good with digital and they can make the slides. One student could be the film master, so if it's a book that has a film as well, they can find out about the film and if it's the same or different. Another one could be the word master, so they find some new words in the story and present those. Another one, a citizenship master, so they can connect the book with the global goals, places in the book, characters, sentences, and then they put it all together and present it to the school, to your class, even, you know, on a video lesson or make a presentation. So again, it's a reading circle where they work together. Okay, and if we can move on. Okay, Padlet as well. So what do we do? Where do students put their responses to reading? So very often they have folders, or you can create posters and displays. In many schools that's not possible at the moment. So you can get your students to make a Padlet. And this is a lovely Padlet that Giovanna Laudiero from Rome produced. She got her students to read the Pearson Jungle Book. And then each student from the reading circle wrote in the Padlet. So one of them made an audio recording, one of them wrote the new words, the vocabulary master, and this is a really nice way of just laying it out. Okay, Charlie, if we can move on. And again, a book and a film. So, for example, they could read the Mr. Bean book. These are really good books for well-being because they make you very happy. And then they can go, watch a Mr. Bean film, or you could get clips that they could watch. So, again, and they could do a book and film review. Someone asked about the books and the films, so they can see if it's the same. What's the same in the film and the book? What's different? Okay. And if we move on, they could design a new cover. So this was from a teacher in Milan. Her student read the Mr. Bean book and decided that they wanted a new cover for it. And so that's nice. And again, it's just a way of engaging them and feeling, very proud of what they've done. And okay. They could also make a video about their favourite part of the story. So here, for example, there's a part of the story in Tom Sawyer where they're painting the fence, and here we've got the students. And I'm not going to show the video, but it's wonderful. We can share the link. It's just beautiful where you've got the kids that are actually just doing the painting of their parents' gate and enacting the story of Tom Sawyer. So you could ask your students to do that, make a video about a part of the book. Okay. We've got that's lots. Yeah, absolutely. Reread the books, and then they can provide a plan of virtual reading festival. So how do you plan a virtual reading festival? So you decide on a date and a time, and you decide on what video conferencing platform you're going to use. So are you going to use Google Classrooms or Teams or Zoom? And you make an invitation. If you've got a student that's good at drawing, they can design the invitation or create it on the computer. And then each student presents a response to their reading. Or you could do something like have a special day festival, like a Sherlock Holmes day. And I know that you've got teachers here that do that. You could also involve students in some ways as well in the class. So every student is involved. One of them might be your technical person. One of them might be doing the invitation. So they're all doing different things. And in fact, someone said reading for culture. Absolutely, Mohammed. So a lot of people have been asking about the eLibrary. So here they are. And basically, it's a great way of getting your students to read, especially if you're in lockdown, because they can all read together. So one of the good things about an eLibrary is that more than one student in class can read the same book. So if everybody wants to read Alice in Wonderland, they don't have to fight over the one copy in the library. They can all read it together, or they can all read Black Beauty, or they can all read Frankenstein. They can read and listen at the same time. They just press the audio, and any device, so their mobile phone, their computer, and they can read any time, and they can choose what to read as well. So do look at the Pearson e-libraries as well. And if you contact your local representative, as they're saying, they'll tell you more about them. Okay. Thank you, Charlie. The other thing is looking at the theme of gratitude. We're coming up to Thanksgiving. So, for example, you can take inspiration from Charles Dickens. If they're reading The Christmas Carol in this period, you might want to read it coming up to Christmas time. Write something, someone, a place, or a memory you're grateful for. So remember, gratitude as a keystone habit can help you in times of difficulty and to overcome hurt and disappointment. So again, in terms of well-being, reading can help us because we can begin to introduce the theme of gratitude. You can ask your students, just do it now. Can you all just write something or you're grateful for? And let's see what you're all saying. Okay, thanks for caring response. Lovely. Yeah. Health, absolutely, Anna. Yeah, good. Okay, thank you, Charlie. So, um, deep reading and slow reading is a mindful way of enjoying a novel instead of skimming over passages and getting sidetracked by social media. So, students are reading with their phones on and everything else. So, and they're reading without distraction. So, one piece of advice we can give our students is just slow down and focus on your book. Be in the present moment and enjoy what you're reading. Okay, Charlie, if we move on. So, tips for mindful reading. So, again, we need to tell our students while you're reading, be in the present moment with your book. Just slow down, make time for reading, and focus on what you're reading. And again, find a window of time for reading. If your mind wanders when you're reading, doesn't matter. Just, that's normal. Just gently bring it back to your book. And the big advice is turn off the phones. Absolutely. It's not easy to achieve, but again, we can be mindful of, just helping our students do this and try and make time for reading. So if we move on, Charlie, thank you. So again, some of the key things are empower students with their choice and make time for reading inside and outside the classroom. One teacher actually visited in Rome, Tamara, with Rachel. She basically used to do reading lesson every Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock. It was the last lesson, so students were absolutely exhausted, but she would have a sort of reading time, and they got really excited about their book because it's something different as well. So encourage students to choose what they read as well. It's very important. Give them the choice. If you can, get the Pearson catalogue from the website, show them the website and just get them to choose what they want to read. And promote reading as well as a vehicle for well-being. So do tell your students how good it is for their health as well. And remember the concept of mindful reading as well. Absolutely. And again, I'm going to leave you with Bali Rai. Reading for pleasure is the biggest the biggest factor in success in life outside of education. So study after study has shown that those children who read for pleasure are the ones who are most likely to fulfill their ambitions. And if your child reads and your students read, they will be likely to succeed, and it's as simple as that. And as teachers, very often we can spot the readers in the class, we can see who they are, so really do encourage it as much as we have. And that's lovely, Anna, to hear. And if we can move on. And I'm going to leave you with this wonderful quote from Dr. Sayers, and you can show this to your students, that you can find magic wherever you look. Just sit back, and all you need is a book. So thank you, everyone. And have we got any questions, Charlie?
I'm just going to have to come back into
that chat. Okay.
Give me a moment, and then let's have a look.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I know there's a lot. Thank you, Rachel. Big sort of round of applause for Rachel, who is the editor of all the readers, and she produces these readers, which are fantastic. And in fact, there's a lot of there are a lot of questions that Rachel's actually answered. A lot of things that are coming through about audio, wanting to listen to the readers. Some really lovely advice from Rachel about Inga's poster, reference specific things from the reader, the text, moment of happiness we've got there. The classics are wonderful. Building up to reading. Yeah. So and is it okay for teenagers to stick to their Marvel? Absolutely. The Marvel readers are very well written. Rachel spent a lot of care over the content, so they're absolutely fantastic in order to get your students to read. And there are lots of them, so they can read more and more and more and really improve their English. Also, there are very good themes in them as well. So that is good. And you're going to start reading The Secret Garden. So any tips? Absolutely. We'll look at the theme of secrets. You can link The Secret Garden to the United Nations global goal of good health and well-being. There's a section in the Secret Garden about exercise routines. I also so I suggest that you get them to read this, and then there are exercises at the back, and on the website there's a lovely sheet of lots of extra ideas. Yeah, so be healthy. Okay, well, thank you very much. And it's lovely. We've got some lovely comments there. So very good.
Absolutely, Donatella. Thank you. Thank you so much for that session. My apologies for the technical hiccups there, and sorry for my slow slide changes.
Not at all. No, not at all. Very good,
Didn't take
Charlie.
away from the gravitas of the session.
No, not at all. Okay.
And thank
Okay.
you for taking the time out of your day and joining us. It's fantastic to see your comments and your engagement. So we can only thank you for that. Please remind you that certificates will be on the way. The recording or an alternate version of the recording will be uploaded to YouTube. And please look out for the virtual goodie bag in your thank you email and follow-up email after this session, where you can find lots of useful links. I've just copied the YouTube playlist URL into the chat box, and also I'm now copying the schedule link, so you can please come and check out all of the webinars that we're hosting this week as part of the Ready for Webinar series. It's been great to have you all here, and once again, thanks for joining us. And Donatella, thank you so much.
No, thank you, and thank you, Charlie, for for all the backstage there and getting it all working, and
No worries.
and a big shout out to Rachel as well.
Yeah, huge
Okay, and
thanks to
Sashka.
Rachel
Yeah,
and
actually.
fantastic.
Oh, great. Hi, Richard. So we've got people in the UK as well. That's lovely. We've got people from all over the world. It's really incredible. And one of the lovely things as well is that you've got students, from all over the world that can read the same readers. And so it's common. It's something to share. Teachers can share with that. Okay. Well, thank you all, and have fun with readers. See you soon.